A fragrant garden is not made by buying whatever smells strongest on a nursery bench. That is how you come home with one scented flower at the far end of a border and wonder why the garden itself still smells of nothing. Scent is a placement job. Some plants carry across a yard. Some only reward you when you brush past them. Some are quiet all day and open their scent at dusk. Put the right plant in the wrong place, and you have paid for something you will hardly notice. I mean to give you 17 dependable perennials, but first I will show you how to place them so the scent reaches the chair, path, door, or open window where a person actually is. That matters more than collecting names. One good plant beside a gate earns its ground every day. 5 hidden behind a shed do not. I will give you the 17, but if you plant them the way people usually plant, you will get about a quarter of what you paid for. So we are going to do the placement first. 4 things decide whether you ever actually smell a plant. The first is distance, and it is closer than you think. Scent carries a great deal less far than people expect. For most of what I am about to name, you need to be within 3 or 4 feet of it. There are a handful that will fill a garden, and I will tell you which ones they are, but they are the exception. So the rule is this: fragrant plants go where you are, not where you look at them. Beside the door you come in and out of 20 times a day, along the edge of a path where your leg brushes them, round the seat where you actually sit, not the one in the photograph, at the corner where you turn. A scented plant at the far end of a border is a plant you have bought for somebody else. The second is still air. Scent is a volatile oil evaporating off a petal or a leaf and drifting. A breeze takes it away as fast as the plant can make it, which is why an enclosed corner, a walled bit, a spot between the house and a hedge will hold scent that an open border loses entirely. If you have one sheltered corner in your garden, that is where the fragrant planting goes. It is worth more than a sunnier spot. The third is warmth, and this is the one that surprises people. Those oils need heat to evaporate. A plant that smells of nothing at 9 in the morning will be pouring scent out at 3 in the afternoon, when the sun has been on it. A wall that has been in sun all day goes on radiating heat into the evening, which is why old walled gardens smell the way they do after dark. So if you have a south or west-facing wall, plant your scent against it. And the fourth is time of day, which is the one almost nobody accounts for. Plants are not making scent for you. They are making it to attract whatever pollinates them, and different plants are advertising to different customers at different hours. Day-scented plants are talking to bees and butterflies, and they work from mid-morning to late afternoon. Evening-scented plants are talking to moths, and they do almost nothing all day and then switch on around dusk. If you smelled one at 11 in the morning at the nursery, you smelled nothing, and you walked past the best plant on the bench. I did that once, from the other side of the counter, and it taught me more about selling than anything else I ever did. I had a long row of old clove-scented pinks I had grown on, hundreds of them, and they would not shift. They looked plain in a pot in May. Gray-green foliage, a few small flowers, nothing to catch the eye against the bedding on the next bench. People walked past them for 3 weeks, and I was starting to think I would have to compost the lot. So I moved a bench, and I put an ordinary garden seat at the nursery gate, and I stood the pinks along the front of it at knee height. People sat down to rest, and then they smelled them. I sold the entire row in a fortnight, and I never once mentioned them to a customer. The plant had not changed. The distance had. There is a fifth thing, and it is not about placement at all. It is about what has been done to the plant before you bought it. A great deal of modern breeding has bred scent out. It is not deliberate. When a breeder selects for bigger flowers, longer vase life, stronger stems, more petals, disease resistance, all the things that sell, scent is not on the list, and the compounds that make it are metabolically expensive for the plant. Something has to give, and over enough generations, it gives. This is why your grandmother's roses smelled and plenty of modern ones do not. It is why some sweet peas are famous for it and the long-stemmed florist sorts have none. And it is why the old named varieties keep turning up on lists like this one, not out of nostalgia, but because they were selected in an era when scent was a reason to buy. So when I name an old variety in what follows, that is why. Not because old is better, because old is what survived being chosen for the right reason. Now then, 17, and I have grouped them so you can pick by what you need rather than by name. The first 5 are the ones that will genuinely carry across a garden. These are your heavy hitters, and you need less of them than you think. First, lily of the valley. Small white bells on arching stems in May, over broad green leaves, and the scent is out of all proportion to the size of the plant. A patch 3 feet across will scent a whole corner. Shade and soil that holds moisture. It will grow where very little else will, under a north wall or beneath a shrub. It spreads by underground runners and it does not stop. That is either the point or the problem, depending where you put it. Give it somewhere it can run or an edge it cannot cross. Second, oriental lily. Bulbs rather than perennials, strictly speaking, but they come back and they are the strongest scent you can grow in this country. One stem and flower will fill a garden and come in through an open window. Sun to part shade, deep rich soil that drains. Plant the bulbs 3 times their own depth. Where the job goes wrong is putting them somewhere you sit for hours. It is genuinely too much for some people at close range, and in a small enclosed courtyard, it can be overwhelming. 20 feet away is about right. Third, regal lily, the same family, white trumpets with a wine purple reverse, and to my mind, a better scent than the oriental sorts. Cleaner, less heavy. It is also tougher and it comes back more reliably. Same conditions. It will get 5 feet tall and it wants no staking if it is in sun. Fourth, sweet rocket. Tall spires of small pink or white flowers in May and June, and it is one of the great evening scents. Almost nothing during the day and then powerful at dusk. It is short-lived, 2 or 3 years, but it seeds itself about freely, and once you have it, you have it. Sun or light shade, any soil. Let it seed. Pulling out the seedlings is how people lose it. Fifth, garden phlox. I have talked about phlox elsewhere for how to divide it, so I will keep this to the scent, which is the reason to grow it in the first place and which most people never mention. Late summer, and it is sweet and heavy and carries 30 feet on a warm evening. It is the smell of August in an old garden. Full sun, air moving round it, and divide it every 3 or 4 years or the flower heads shrink and the scent goes with them. The white ones are the strongest. David is the one to buy. Now the next 6 are close-range plants, 3 or 4 feet. These go by the door and along the path. Sixth, clove pinks, the old dianthus, gray-green mats of foliage and small fringed flowers in June that smell exactly of cloves. This is the row I could not sell, and it is still the plant I would put nearest a seat. Full sun and sharp drainage, and they like lime. Gravel right up to the stems, never bark or compost, because soft, damp material against that gray foliage rots the neck. Mrs. Sinkins is the old white one. It flops and it splits its calyx, and it is still worth growing for the scent alone. Seventh, peony. The scent varies enormously between varieties, and a good many modern ones have almost none. So this is one to buy in flower or on somebody's word rather than off a picture. The old-fashioned doubles are the scented ones. Sarah Bernhardt and Festiva Maxima both have it properly. I have covered planting depth elsewhere, and it is the thing that decides whether you get flowers at all. So if yours has never bloomed, go and look at that. 2 inches over the eyes, no more. Eighth, bee balm. Ragged, shaggy heads in red, pink, or purple, and the scent is in the leaves rather than the flowers. Sharp, minty, a bit medicinal. You get it when you brush past. Sun, moisture, and above all, air. Bee balm gets powdery mildew worse than almost anything, and crowded plants get it every year without fail. Space them properly. Jacob Klein is the red one that resists mildew best. Ninth, anise hyssop. Upright purple spikes all summer, and the leaves smell strongly of aniseed when you touch them. Bees will not leave it alone. Sun, ordinary soil, good drainage. It is short-lived, but it seeds gently. The leaves make a decent tea, which is not usually a reason to grow a thing, but in this case, it is a pleasant one. 10th, lemon balm. Rough green leaves that smell of lemon sherbet when crushed. Almost nothing to look at, and that is not the point. It will grow anywhere, in sun or shade, in any soil, and that is also the warning. It seeds itself everywhere, and it is genuinely difficult to remove once established. Plant it in a pot sunk in the ground, or in a graveled area where you can hoe the seedlings, and cut the flower heads off before they set. Do that, and it is a fine plant. Ignore it for 2 years and you will be pulling it out of everything. 11th, sweet violet. Small purple or white flowers in February and March, close to the ground, and a scent that is famously peculiar. It comes and goes as you smell it, because it contains a compound that briefly numbs the receptor. You get it, then you lose it, then it comes back. Shade or part shade, moist soil. It spreads by runners and it seeds, and in a lawn or a border edge, it makes a fine low carpet. It flowers when nothing else does. That alone earns it a place. The next four are underfoot plants, things you tread on or brush past, where the scent is in the leaves and released by contact. 12th, Corsican mint, a film of tiny leaves an inch high, and it will grow in the cracks between paving stones. Step on it and the mint comes up. Part shade, moisture, and it will not take heavy foot traffic. A path you walk down, not one you stand about on. It is not fully hardy in the coldest zones, and it can be lost in a bad winter. Take it as a cheap plant to replace rather than a permanent one. 13th, Roman chamomile, feathery low green foliage that smells of apples when crushed. And there is a non-flowering variety, Trineg, that was traditionally used to make chamomile lawns. Sun, sharp drainage, poor soil. It will not tolerate wet. A whole chamomile lawn is a great deal of work, and I would not send you there. A patch of it beside a seat or in a gap in paving gives you all of the pleasure and none of the labor. 14th, sweet woodruff. Whorls of bright green leaves and small white flowers in spring. And here is the odd thing about it. Fresh, it smells of very little. Dried, it smells strongly of new-mown hay and vanilla. And it holds that scent for months. Deep shade, moist soil. It spreads and makes excellent ground cover under trees where almost nothing else will grow. Cut a handful and dry it indoors, and you will see what I mean. 15th, catmint. I have covered this elsewhere for the midsummer cutback, which is the job that keeps it going. So here I will just say that the foliage is aromatic and it releases when you brush it, which makes it the right plant for a path edge specifically. Gray-green haze, lavender-blue flowers made of frost. Full sun, hardly any water. The last two are the ones I would put nearest a chair because they are subtle and they reward sitting still. 16th, chocolate cosmos. Deep maroon-black flowers, almost the color of dried blood, on wiry stems, and they smell of chocolate. Not faintly, properly. Full sun. It grows from a tuber and it is not hardy in most of the country. Lift it in autumn and store it dry, like a dahlia, or grow it in a pot you can bring in. That is more work than anything else on this list, and it is still worth it. 17th, valerian. Tall stems, 4 or 5 feet, topped with heads of small pale pink or white flowers in June, and a heavy, sweet scent that comes into its own in the evening. Sun or part shaded, any soil, and it will take damp ground that other things resent. Fair warning about the root. The root of this plant smells strongly and unpleasantly. It is where the old sedative preparations came from, and cats are inexplicably drawn to it. If you have cats about, they will roll on it. Now, a word about what these plants are actually for, beyond your own nose, because it changes where you put them. Scent is advertising. Every one of these is spending energy to broadcast a signal, and the signal is aimed at something specific. The day-scented plants on this list, the pinks, the bee balm, the anise hyssop, the catmint, are talking to bees and butterflies. Put them where you want pollinators working, which usually means near anything you are growing to eat. A row of beans beside a stand of anise hyssop sets better than a row of beans on its own, and that is not sentiment, it is traffic. The evening-scented ones, sweet rocket, valerian, and the lilies to a degree, are talking to moths. Moths are pollinators too, and they are almost entirely ignored by gardeners. Plant for them, and you get a whole second shift working your garden after dark. And on a warm evening, you can stand and watch it happening. The leaf-scented plants are doing something different again. That oil in the leaf is a deterrent. It is there to make the plant taste wrong to something that would otherwise eat it, which is precisely why deer and rabbits walk past catmint, lemon balm, anise hyssop, and mint, and why a border edged with aromatic foliage takes less damage than one that is not. So the leaf-scented ones earn their place twice, once for you when you brush them, and once as a low fence that nothing wants to chew. Now for how to actually put them together, because 17 plants dotted about is not a scented garden. Concentrate rather than scatter. Pick 2 or 3 places you genuinely spend time, the back door, one seat, one path, and load those places properly. 3 or 4 scented plants within arm's reach of a seat does more than 17 spread across a quarter acre. Then work the calendar so that one spot gives you something for most of the year. Violets in February and March, lily of the valley and sweet rocket in May, pinks and peony in June, bee balm and lilies in July, phlox and valerian in August. That is one seat, 5 plants, 7 months. And do not put the heavy ones next to each other. Oriental lilies beside phlox beside peony is not a fragrant garden. It is a mess. The nose cannot separate them and the whole thing goes muddy and sickly. One strong scent per area with the leaf-scented plants around it, because leaf scent only releases when you touch it and does not compete. And keep them cut back, because a tired plant makes less scent. This applies to the whole list, but particularly to the pinks, the catmint, the bee balm, and the anise hyssop. Deadhead them properly through the season, down to a leaf joint, not just the spent flower, and the plant keeps producing rather than switching over to making seed. A plant setting seed has decided its year is finished, and it stops advertising. The pinks in particular will give you a second flush in late summer if you shear them over straight after the June flowering, and almost nobody does it. And do not feed any of them heavily. This is the one that catches people out. Rich soil and regular nitrogen give you a big lush plant with pale weak scent, because the plant is putting its resources into leaf rather than into the oils. Nearly everything on this list evolved on poor ground and concentrates its scent when it is a little bit stressed. Lean soil, sharp drainage, no feeding. That is the specification for fragrance, and it is the opposite of what people do when they want a plant to perform. One last thing on buying. Buy fragrant plants in flower, or buy them on a name you trust. Fragrance varies enormously within a species, and the label will not tell you. 2 peonies of the same color, same size, same price, and one has it and one does not. And go and smell things in the afternoon, not the morning. 2 o'clock on a warm day is when a plant is doing its best work, and it is when the nursery is quietest anyway. If you are looking at something evening scented, you will not be able to test it at all. That is what the names are for. Sweet rocket, evening primrose, night scented stock. The plant is telling you when to expect it. One more group worth knowing about, and then I will let you go. If you want scent indoors as well, 4 of these cut and keep. Lilies, obviously, 1 stem in a vase will do a room, and if you cut them, do it in the evening and take the pollen-bearing anthers out with a tissue before they open properly, because that pollen stains anything it touches and does not come out. Pinks last a good week in water and hold their clove scent the whole time. Cut them just as the buds are showing color. Sweet rocket is short-lived in a vase, 3 or 4 days, but it is worth it for those few evenings. And sweet woodruff, dried rather than fresh. Cut a bunch, hang it upside down somewhere dark and airy for a fortnight, and then put it in a drawer or a bowl. It holds that hay and vanilla scent for the better part of a year. That was the old use for it, and it is still the best one. Phlox I would leave outside. It is magnificent in a border on a warm evening, and it goes strangely sour in a vase indoors. Stand where you genuinely sit, walk, or open a window. Reach out your hand. If there is no fragrant plant within reach or along the air path, that is the first place to plant one. Choose for the hour you use the garden. Day scent for a working path, evening scent for a chair after supper, aromatic foliage where a sleeve or boot will brush it. One correctly placed plant will give you more than a collection hidden at the back. Tell me which scent takes you straight back to an old garden. Plants carry memory in a way color alone rarely does. Do not scatter fragrance. Put it where a person will meet it.